Okay, Alex. Hello everyone, I'm Brian Croy-Dragon and welcome back to Vox Adventures. Sorry about this. This was just in case I forgot which direction I was going. And we are continuing on with our journey west. To well, place a sign in Zombie's name on the edge of the world. Yes, Alex. You can stay down. Yes, kitten. Well, so much for that. Okay, you can come up if you want to. Art by John Romita and Bruce Timm. That's cool. Art by Ron Frenz and Bruce Timm. Actually, I have to check the table of contents. Zorian pencils, Dan Jurgens, inks Bob Layton, colors Avalon, Edgar Taddeo, letters Todd Klein. Interesting. So guest artists. Art by Rick Vetch and Tom Palmer. Okay, so not Bruce Timm Bruce Timm's not included this time. Oh yeah, the Falcon back in his green and orange suit without the wings when he just swung from place to place. Soundbush Bushema this time. Okay, so let's say relics now. what can I talk about? What can I talk about? Last two nights I've, watched some Vikings, a bit of the animated Lost World series. And I've come to a realization that if I'm gonna pay homage to a work, if there's any adaptations I am going to include in the homage, it's going to be either adaptations that are the most faithful or adaptations that are that my own country was involved in. And thank goodness Canada was involved in 3 adaptations of The Lost World. Excuse me. There were the 2 movies with John Rhys Davies, The Lost World, which is an adaptation, and The Return to the Lost World, which is a completely original story. I've not read all of the Professor Challenger stories, but I know for a fact that there wasn't one where he... Actually, how far does this take us? I know for a fact there wasn't one where he, Edward Malone, Professor Summerlee and John Roxton all returned to the Lost World. There was the TV show that lasted from 1999 to 2002, and then there was the animated series from 2002, which unfortunately only lasted 1 season. And ended with no resolution. Much like the live action series ending with no resolution. So many shows. I mean, I know the voice cast. I grew up listening to them. That works on stuff like Ivanhoe the King's Knight, Magical Adventures of Quasimodo, The Legend of White Fang. Well, let me tell you. The Legend of White Fang was standalone story, so it doesn't really matter. But the Magical Adventures of Quasimodo did have a overarching story. Quasimodo trying to find his parents. And unfortunately that never came to pass because the series wasn't renewed for another season. Much like The Lost World. But the one that actually did get to tell the entire story was Ivanhoe the King's Knight. Richard was free from his ransom. King Richard was free from his ransom. He returned home to England. Prince John and Malvoisin went into exile, and we don't know what happened to Bois Guilbert or Front-de-Bœuf. And Ivanhoe and Rowena got married. Honestly, it's nice to know that at least one of these shows that takes classical literature and does something like that, it got an ending, but still. George Lucas believes that stories aren't truly aren't fully finished, they're abandoned. And while I'm not sure if I agree with that, I can say that abandonment is basically what happens with some television shows. What happens with The Magical Adventures of Quasimodo? It's what happened to both the live-action and animated adaptations of television adaptations of The Lost World. Yeah, it's basically what happened. And look, I took a lot of interesting classes. I took classes on history, I took classes on related to pop culture, film, animation, comics. Literature. Honestly, if I don't talk about what I learned about in school, well, I don't think you want to learn about, well, don't want to hear me talk about religion or politics. You want me to talk about things that will interest you. I mean, I know Zombie like to hear my film commentary. Sure, he probably still does from up there. Yeah, and I guess the stories being abandoned thing does apply to some films. Like, when it doesn't seem like there's any real ending to it, it just stops. Not as much ends, so much as stops. Oh, good lord. When will we be reaching the western edge? Well, I presume sometime today, but, it's this, long stretch of ocean we have to get through. So, currently doing 2 readings at the moment. Tales of the Greek Heroes, as my normal self. Yeah, here we go. And Lands of Legend as my virtual self. So what now? 21 minutes in, and I booked this recording session for and I say book, but yeah, that's basically how it is. Start at one time, end at one time. Going until 11:59. I got a while to go. So what are we gonna do? Just take a nature walk? Honestly, I like that idea. Sorry, just need blood. Well, so much for the rain. Oh, jeez. Yeah, we're good. Okay, looks like it's getting dark, so this is where we head out. Head on. continue on our way. I've not seen too many film adaptations of the story of Samson. Screen adaptations, period. Seen an animated one, which just, I don't know, had the most wooden voice acting in it. From some series or other. Most wooden voice acting ever. Definitely wasn't from Testament, the Bible and animation. I've seen the Sesame Beat and Mel film. Very good, and I just, in general, have to ask, well, not so much ask as wonder why it is so easy to, it's so easy to adapt the town of Samson from the screen, or even Beowulf, and yet with Beowulf, so many fail. Yes, sir, so many fail. I'd say the best screen adaptation of Beowulf would be the animated Epics one. Just count it as it is. Beowulf fights Grendel, Beowulf fights Grendel's mother. Decades later, Beowulf fights the dragon. He's fatally wounded. The end. Then you just have the Robert Zemeckis film, which just screws everything over. Why? Because apparently Robert Zemeckis didn't like the source material. Well then, if that's the case, he shouldn't have been adapting it, now should he? I remember when the Robert Zemeckis film came out, I was what, 15? Yeah, I think 15. I known people who had heard of the poem. Well, sort of. I was the only one who knew it was a poem. One friend of mine thought it was a legend. And another friend just had never heard of it, period. Thought it was a new thing. And that's just the way of things, isn't it? People know the source. People have either heard of the source material or they haven't. And even if they have heard of it, they might not accurately know the source material. That friend of mine who had not heard of Beowulf, thought the film was completely original. Yeah, obviously he'd heard of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Knew it was based off of a book. Had he read it? No. And so he thought that the musical Jekyll and Hyde was an accurate representation of how the story went, and when he he brought up a film he saw on TV, film adaptation he saw on TV. He outright, I hadn't seen it, I hadn't seen the film, I had seen the play. I've read the book, I've seen my fair share of screen adaptations. He saw the film and he outright told me it was inaccurate. So of course I thought of a difference in the play and asked him if Danvers Carey died. And like he does in the book, the original story, he does not in the musical Jekyll and Hyde. And his reaction was, oh, then I guess the play is inaccurate. So yeah, don't call something inaccurate if you've never actually read the source material. Fortnite and Captain America. Some other time. So, Captain America. appeared 3 years after his DC counterpart, Superman. Both the creations of Jewish creators. Honestly, I have to say, Captain America does sound better than the initial name Jack Kirby and Joe Simon had picked out. Actually, I think it was Joe Simon who picked out the initial name, and then Jack Kirby who said, no, there's too many supers. What was the name? Super American. Super American. Just rolls off the tongue. But then again, who am I to talk? I looked at that name and said, sure, if I'm gonna pay homage to Superman and Captain America in the Carchemish series, why not go with Super Canadian? Of course, it was I really look at ways to stand out, to make the characters stand out from who they're inspired by. So, despite the name, no superpowers. Just a guy who carries a gun and the suit's more like body armor. You know, like what was done for the MCU Captain America, not so much the gun bit. That's taken from the film serial from the 40s. No secret identity either. Everyone knows who he is. You get the idea. So, it's a bit... how do I put this? It's a bit, he's a bit, Steve Rogers and William Burnside. The first one, definitely Steve Rogers. The second one, definitely William Burnside. And if you don't know who William Burnside is, that's okay. I'll explain. You see, in the 50s, you know, Cold War, Korean War having just ended, Marvel wanted to revive Captain America. We went from punching Nazis to, from fighting Nazis to fighting communists. But of course, this version proved unpopular with readers. Jeez. Damn creeper. So yeah, that Captain America Call Me Smasher proved unpopular with readers. So what did they do? Well, actually I think Stan Lee was the writer for that bit, so when he was writing again in the 60s, he decided to just ignore that, what he probably must have considered an, I mean, I don't want to speak for the man himself, and who knows what he was thinking, but he basically retconned it. Oh, jeez. Yeah, so Stanley retconned it and gave us the story we all know of him getting frozen in the ice. Yeah, he gave us the story we all know, and you have to understand, there were Captain America comics going on basically non-stop, and it was always meant to be the same guy. It was always meant to be Steve Rogers, so what's basically ended up happening is that they've ended up being retconned into different people. So Captain America Call Me Smasher has been retconned into William Burnside, who actually, well, changed his name to Steve Rogers and even had plastic surgery to look like him. Yeah, had plastic surgery to look like him. Surgery on his vocal cords to look like him, even though that's not something I think can actually happen. And eventually they brought back William Burnside as the antagonist of a story arc in the 1970s. Him and his Bucky, Jack Monroe, who likewise was originally supposed to be in the original Bucky. So, Burnside and Monroe had an incomplete super soldier serum put in them. When it proved to make that it was making them I don't know, schizophrenic, paranoid, or whatever. They were put on ice. You know, put into a cryogenic suspension, and I don't know, some right-wing guy who was unhappy with how things were in the 70s, just released them. And here's an important thing to note about William Burnside. Unlike Steve Rogers, who is a perfectly nice guy without any prejudices, Burnside, yeah, he's a racist and has turned white supremacist twice. Once through brainwashing and once just through his own volition. Joined up with the Watchdogs. Sometime in the last decade, in the 2010s. Didn't like the 70s, and he really didn't like the 2010s. So, yeah, Super Canadian guy's real name, the first one, real name William Rice. Actually a German Jewish guy. Jewish German? He's Jewish and he's of German descent. Oh, for God's sake. I mean, I don't know, I might change it so he's got a Russian background, I don't know. But right now I'm just feeling Jewish German background. Ethnically German, religiously Jewish. And the way I see it is that, he was basically Super Canadian for 23 years. He gets killed, and that's where the William Burnside equivalent comes in. Arthur Cayley. Always been intended to be the replacement. And he happily changes his name to William Rice. Gets the plastic surgery and all that, even though the guy's William Rice was like 14 years older than him. Yeah, much like how Steve Rogers is actually 12 years older than William Burnside. So yeah, there you go, just the immediate replacement, try to make it seem like the guy's still alive. I've seen my fair share of Captain America related things. I've seen my fair share of Superman related things. And the interesting thing about the Captain America film series, he was just a vigilante going against regular criminals with some criminal mastermind, despite it being made in the 40s and during World War II. And likewise, Superman's earliest enemies were things like gangsters, violent husbands, corrupt politicians, things like that. So I think to myself, okay, so Super Canadian doesn't need to be connected to a war, he just needs to be some regular guy the government assigned to crack down on things like this. Crime, spousal abuse, political corruption. I mean, yeah, you can make an argument it's boring, but my philosophy is that my rule, no, not a philosophy, a rule is that the closest thing to a super villain in the series should be a mad scientist. Yeah, for the perfectly human villains, that is. So, yeah, no powers with this guy, just a gun and some body armor. Yeah, the mask is also taken from the MCU. It's more of a helmet, and instead taken from the MCU, no secret identity. Now, Arthur Cayley, not going to. How do I put this? Obviously, there's no cryogenic suspension involved with his story. It's more of a case that while the world has a predominantly 1940s aesthetic, the attitudes are quite modern. Arthur Cayley, on the other hand, has a very 1940s attitude, which actually clashes with everyone else. Which I think works pretty well. Yeah, I do employ some uh, mental casting. So I ended up mentally casting Christopher Reeve as William Rice and, well, Arthur Caney, obviously. I mean, it might change. I am familiar that for the Ultimates, the Ultimate Marvel comics, one idea was to make Captain America black, and that for the animated film adaptation, Ultimate Avengers, there was an idea to have it be so Captain America was fighting in the Gulf War instead of World War II, and that's interesting. But not sure if I'm gonna use that. I typically go for, oh, I don't know, ideas that weren't actually I tend to find inspiration in ideas that never made it. And of course, I'm Canadian. I write from a Canadian perspective most of the time. So obviously, not Super Canadian's not a vigilante. But if I were to go Gulf War, because obviously Canada was involved in the Gulf War, we did fight in it. How do I get out of here? Yeah, so if the Gulf War were to replace World War II, so what would replace the Korean War, which is not, well, that's not what Burnside was fighting in. It was what had ended when he became Captain America. So hold on, I want to look this up. Oh jeez, you stay where you are. This, oh, for God's sake. Yeah, list of wars involving Canada. Persian Gulf War. The Somali Civil War. Wait, victory. Canadian strategic victory. Defeat, that is, war in Afghanistan. Victory ongoing. So really, we haven't had a ceasefire since the Korean War. That's interesting. But anyway, yeah, Black, William, I don't know, I guess the Black William Burnside equivalent would have been, he look, I'm just um look, I'm just saying stuff, okay? So if they had gone the Gulf War, that means that the Burnside equivalent would have been you know, would have become Captain America in 1995, not long after the end of the Somali Civil War. I mean, I'm speaking from a Canadian perspective. What would it be from the American perspective? List of wars involving U.S. 20th century wars. It's your Gulf War 1990 to 1991. Okay, the conflict immediately after that is the Iraqi no-fly zone enforcement operation from 1991 to 2003. Interesting. I don't know, has there been a ceasefire? Actually, well, I'm not really big on American history, so that's your Korean War, World War II. Okay, so exactly like Canada in that respect. Have they had a... Has there been a... Wait, hold on. Korean War... Yeah, ceasefire, let's see. Bosnian War and Croatian War. Okay, so it's the Korean War is classified as a ceasefire for Canada, but for America it's classified inconclusive slash... Oh, wait, yeah, that's basically it. Military stalemate and all that. So, really, Bosnian War and Croatian War, 1992 to 1995. So, same period still. Yeah, except only cease. Yeah. I don't know. Guess it's whatever the writer's feeling. I mean, speaking as a Canadian, I actually felt. I mean, speaking of a guy who was born in the 90s, I don't know, 90s seems not a bad setting. So yeah, in the Ultimate Marvel Comics, Captain America thawed out in the 2000s, so if it was the Persian Gulf War, he probably wouldn't have been frozen as long. And I mean, technically speaking, he wasn't frozen as long initially. I mean, obviously they have to reboot it every so often. Yeah, and they have to reboot it every so often. So he's been in the ice longer and longer, but God, what was it? 62, 63, 64? Would have been in the ice like 17, 19 years. If it had been the Persian Gulf War, it would have been, what, 13 years? Or was it 10 years? Jeez, I can't really remember when Ultimate Marvel began. The 90s and early 2000s probably. Definitely wasn't the 90s. I know Ultimate Spider-Man, when I used to think it was something that spawned because of the success of the Tobey Maguire film, but no, apparently not. But still, Black Captain America fighting in the Persian Gulf War. That's, if you want to do something outside, if you want to write something outside mainstream, use that idea. Let's see our Ultimate Marvel. Okay, so it started in 2000. So, yeah. So Ultimate Avengers. (2006). So, not exactly sure. It's been a while since I've watched the movie. So for all we know, Ultimate Avengers is a one being produced in made in 2006. That might actually be set in 2000. So the Persian. So if they had gone the Persian Gulf War route, Cap would have only been in the ice for 9 years. How long had William Burnside been active until they put him on ice? 4 years, I think. So 53 to 57. So if such a character were to exist in the Ultimate line and using the Persian Gulf War instead of World War II for Steve Rogers, and the 1990, Bosnian War, all that. The end. With that in mind, he would have been active from 95 to 99 before being put on ice. And then they would have found Steve Rogers a year later. Yes. Who's my kitten? Yes, who's my kitten? No, I think I might actually like that idea. Black, super Canadian. That's not bad. Of course, there's a ton of unused ideas in fiction. If you're a writer yourself, try looking to those for inspiration. Of course, I take inspiration from a long uh, line of things. Early adaptations, works in their early period, foreign adaptations. You know, geez, that Mexican Batwoman film. Spun off from the success of Vladimir's Batman series, and they got that in Mexico. Yeah, she's got the cape, the cowl, she wears a bikini. Yeah, the villain is a mad scientist who combines a goldfish and a G.I. Joe action figure to create some Gilman knockoff. Yeah, jeez, if I can find that on archive.org, maybe I'll do a reaction video to the entire movie. Yes. I don't know, if I do go ahead and make Super Canadian black, who am I gonna physically, mentally cast? I mean, I know Christopher Reeve wasn't Canadian, but still, he left such a good performance as Superman that it's pretty much, yeah, that's such a good performance. So sometimes I don't mentally cast Canadian actors, and sometimes it depends on what their nationality is. The nationality of the character. Not all of the characters need to be Canadian, and honestly, well, that's why I like the DC Comics Bombshells comics. Not all of the characters are American. Aquaman, one of my favorite superheroes, is instead of Irish nationality. Yes. What? And that's probably what influenced me when I decided to go ahead and start at the beginning again for Ahab. I mean, my family's Irish, so my family's Gaelic Irish on my father's side, Highland Scottish on my mother's. So there you go. Both two forms of Gaelic. It's just it takes less time to say Gaelic, okay? Yeah. I'm not sure when the first. I also designed for Cormac Egan, our protagonist, to have some Arabic ancestry, that being his paternal grandfather. Not sure when the first Arabic immigrants to Ireland arrived, but still, I went ahead and did that. I was just feeling Arab, you know? So yeah, with Cormac being of Irish nationality, the story starts in the Atlantic, then goes to the Arctic, then goes from the Pacific. Because yeah, the Atlantis equivalent, you might say, is still going to be called Pacifica. When Bill Everett was writing the Namor comics, because well, you know, he created Namor, uh, he he actually believed Atlantis was an actual place that actually existed, just hadn't been discovered yet. So he did not initially have Namor and his people coming from Atlantis. And that's something important to remember. If you're gonna go with a sunken city, I don't know, try something original. Don't always have it be Atlantis, or Mu, or Lemuria, or anywhere like that. I mean, there was a comic in the late 40s where it was the only time, I think, that referred to Namor's homeland as Atlantis. His ancestral homeland, I guess. But it didn't really officially take off until Stan Lee was writing, you know, Fantastic Four and all that, when he brought Namor back in the 60s. I don't know, I like the idea that it's not Atlantis better. And here's the thing. Plato established a lot of things about Atlantis. One of the important things was the complete and utter destruction of Atlantis. So basically, keeping that in mind, it would be just ruins beneath the sea. And Marvel's counterpart Aquaman originally wasn't born of a union between, you know, surface dweller and Atlantean. He was just a regular guy whose father had discovered Atlantis, and that's all it was. It was just ruins beneath the deep that had some marvelous secret of being able to breathe water. hidden in it, which he then passed on to his son, and that's how Aquaman became Aquaman. But yeah, it's it's interesting. It's interesting. What we initially got in the first Aquaman comic, it's also what we got in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's Atlantis is just ruins. And that's pretty much follows what Plato described. The civilization was destroyed, it sank to the bottom of the ocean, that's it. That is it. And I feel that what Bill Everett did, by not having Namor's place of origin be Atlantis, allowed for more creativity. Didn't have to, you know, just say, oh no, Plato had it wrong. We have survived all this time. Yeah, that's, I mean, yeah, I enjoy Atlantis the Lost Empire from Disney, but I think I would have made up my own place. But on the other hand, I probably wouldn't have, I mean, yeah, it's, I mean, on the one hand, Atlantis, the Lost Empire, yeah, doesn't have the civilization surviving beneath the waves. It's now in a subterranean world, but the point is the civilization is still there. So I probably would have used I probably would have created my own place instead. And yeah, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, true, it's Plato never described Atlantis as being technologically advanced. And that's something that a lot of people tend to portray it as, because I don't know. Just having an abundance of natural resources and a very valuable metal called orichalcum doesn't seem good enough for a lot of people. Just doesn't seem good enough for a lot of people. And while Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis does, to some extent, portray Atlantis as technologically advanced, it doesn't portray the civilization as still thriving beneath the waves, so a bit halfway. I mean, I enjoy the game. I haven't read the entirety of the comic adaptation. And Honestly, I'm not sure why a lot of people don't just create their own fictional sunken location. Guess it's just easier just to take a pre-existing name. Yeah, honestly, yeah, I don't know. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, yeah. Huh. Excuse me. Oh, thank goodness. You know, everyone debates where Atlantis could have been. Some of these locations aren't even in the Atlantic Ocean. But the two I do know of are in the Atlantic, and beyond the Pillars of Hercules are the Irish Sea and the North Sea. Don't know why people have to go and change the location. Plato said beyond the Pillars of Hercules, not... I don't know, not somewhere else, not somewhere in the Mediterranean. Where even is Iceland? Is it in the North Sea? Let's see our basin countries. United Kingdom, Norway, Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Switzerland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Austria, and the Czech Republic. Really? Let's see our Irish. So really, Iceland is not a basin country of the North Sea. Let's see our Irish Sea, United Kingdom, Republic of Ireland, Isle of Man. Okay. So which sea was Look, I'm not no expert on geography or oceanography, but where exactly was the opening to Atlantis and Atlantis the Lost Empire? I know it's somewhere near Iceland. Yeah, geez, I don't know. People just go ahead and change I mean, the location willy-nilly. I mean, sure, it's beyond the Pillars of Hercules, but has anyone ever suggested it is anywhere near Iceland, or I don't know. It's in the Atlantic. That's what Plato said. And then you have people going on and I don't know. I enjoyed Submariner in the Depths, but why Atlantis is in the Mariana Trench, which is in the Pacific, I have no idea. No less just for a fictional island. Yeah, I don't know. Things are weird. Well, I have this much to say when we reach the Atlantis portion of my reading of Lands of Legend, oh, who knows? Who knows? We have the opening, the actual reading, and then the closing. Yes, Alex? Hey? What are you up to, Alex? I don't go in for any of that ancient astronaut nonsense. Bad enough I had to read about it during my reading of Monsters Among Us. So please, no one ask me to do a reading of Chariots of the Gods. I don't know. Going back to Super Canadian, if I do make him black, can I feasibly do the William Burnside thing? William Burnside equivalent. With a realistic 1940s attitude. And him being, well, yeah, racism is universal. You find racist white people, you find racist black people, you find racist Asian people. You get the idea. Honestly, I don't know. Will Smith, he was considered for, who was he considered for? Superman, Captain America, both? I don't know. Maybe I could mentally cast him. I'm fine. I'll be having lunch in 2 minutes. Ah, lava, my arch enemy. One of them anyway. And unlike the cavemen, I don't like lava. I think I may have made a terrible mistake. Oh, no. Yeah, there we go. Well, that's all for today, everyone. I'm Brian Croy Dragon, signing out. Stay Shrey.